He was the most powerful man in the world, emperor of Rome, commander of armies, ruler of millions. And yet, Marcus Aurelius was not consumed by ego, nor corrupted by luxury. Instead, he chose discipline. He chose virtue. He rose each morning to face the chaos of empire with a calm mind and steady hand. His habits were not grand, they were grounded, rooted in reflection, silence, and control. In this video, we'll explore the daily rituals that shaped his strength, the inner code that kept him grounded in storms of politics, betrayal, and war. Because, in a world that demands reaction, Marcus chose reason. In a world of noise, he chose stillness. These are the lessons of Stoic discipline, not to escape life, but to engage it with wisdom, force, and unshakable clarity. One is purposeful action. Marcus Aurelius believed that a man must never drift, never waste time in idle talk, hollow pleasures, or scattered effort. Every moment was an opportunity to practice virtue, to fulfill duty, to build strength through deeds, not words. He approached his responsibilities not as burdens, but as tests of character. Each task, no matter how tedious or difficult, was a chance to train his discipline, to remain calm under pressure, to lead with reason, not emotion. He reminded himself that nature designed man to work just as the eye is meant to see and the hand to grasp. His power did not exempt him from effort. It demanded more of it. Marcus saw laziness as the seed of weakness, and indulgence as the path to decay. So he kept moving forward, one task at a time, with unwavering focus and quiet force. Because the Stoic does not wait for motivation, he acts from duty. He leads from principle, and he builds his life on steady, deliberate motion. 2 is morning discipline. Before the city stirred, before orders were given or problems arrived at his doorstep, Marcus Aurelius carved out time for himself, not to indulge, but to prepare. He understood that how a man starts his day shapes how he commands it. His routine was built on silence, solitude, and self-examination. He wrote in his journal, not for others, but to face himself, to remind his mind of what matters, that comfort is fleeting, that pain is part of the path, that others may insult, lie, or betray. But his response remains his own. He trained his soul to be immovable, like a fortress. The Stoics taught that we don't control what happens, we control how we meet it. And so, Marcus began each day with armor, not of steel but of reason, not with distraction but with direction. It was in those quiet early hours that he built the strength to carry an empire, not through force, but through unshakable inner command. 3 is physical renewal and connection with nature. Marcus Aurelius understood that the body and mind are not separate, they are allies in discipline. He walked among the trees, breathed the open air, and trained his body, not for vanity, but for vitality. In a world full of excess and distraction, he chose simplicity. He believed that nature offers clarity. It reminds us how little we control and how much we can endure. Physical movement was not an escape, it was a return to what is real, to what is silent, to what cannot be corrupted by politics, power, or praise. While others grew soft with indulgence, Marcus kept his body sharp, not as a display, but as preparation. He knew that strength is not just mental, It must be practiced through motion, through effort, through discomfort. The Stoic does not hide from hardship, he invites it. Because in pain, there is purification. In effort, there is growth. And in nature, there is a lesson. To endure without complaint, to adapt without fear, and to stand firm, even as the winds change. 4 is the discipline of reflection. Marcus Aurelius did not end his day with noise or distraction. He ended it with silence, with clarity, with a return to himself. While the empire rested, he examined the battlefield within. He looked at the choices he had made, the emotions he had felt, and the words he had spoken, not to judge himself harshly, but to understand, to refine, to sharpen. Each night, he asked, where did I fall short? Where did I remain strong? Did I act with wisdom, or was I pulled by ego? This practice was not sentimental, it was strategic. It kept him humble in victory and focused in failure. He knew that unchecked habits become hidden chains. So he broke them, one by one, through honest review. He wrote with brutal clarity, stripping away excuses and illusions. He faced his own flaws without fear. Because a man who fears self-examination is already defeated. Through reflection, Marcus turned pain into purpose, mistakes into movement, regret into resilience. He understood that life is short, and each day wasted in unconscious living is a day surrendered to weakness. But a day reflected upon a day examined is a weapon sharpened, a lesson earned, a step closer to mastery. This was his quiet ritual, his nightly armor, because while others slept in comfort, Marcus prepared his soul, not for rest, but for the war that would return with the rising sun. 5 is composure under pressure. As emperor, Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by conflict, internal dissent, foreign wars, betrayal from allies, and the burden of power. But he did not let external storms shake his inner calm. He believed that true strength is not loud or aggressive. It is steady. It is silent. He practiced the art of enduring chaos without letting it distort his reason. When others panicked, he remained grounded. When others lashed out, he responded with restraint. This was not weakness, it was power in its highest form. He knew that every crisis reveals a man's true nature, and so, Marcus trained daily to master his emotions, to meet slander with silence, to meet failure with reflection, to meet hostility with calm resolve. The Stoic does not react, he responds. He watches, he waits, and when he moves, he does so with purpose. Marcus Aurelius showed that the man who can remain composed under fire is the man who leads, who lasts, and who leaves behind a legacy of unshakable force. 6 is intellectual strength through study and writing. Marcus Aurelius ruled not by impulse, but by understanding, surrounded by endless demands, urgent décisions, and cunning voices. He made time each day to train his mind. He did not see study as a luxury. He saw it as survival. Just as the soldier sharpens his blade, Marcus sharpened his reason. He turned to philosophy not for comfort, but for clarity. He read the words of Epictetus and Heraclitus. He wrestled with them, questioned them, applied them. He knew that philosophy was not about sounding wise, it was about living wisely. Every morning and every night, he returned to the page, writing, reflecting, anchoring himself in what matters. He challenged his own ego. He reminded himself that power is fleeting, that praise is hollow, and that only virtue endures. His private writings were not speeches or commands. They were battles against vanity, against fear, against the temptation to abandon what is right for what is easy. In a world where leaders are often ruled by their appetites, Marcus ruled himself first. He knew that knowledge without action is empty. So he wrote to align his mind with his mission to stay humble in victory, steady in loss, and clear in the face of manipulation. For the Stoic, study is not escape. It is preparation, a daily defense against illusion, a quiet ritual of fortification, because a man who reads with purpose, who writes with discipline, and who thinks with precision becomes untouchable, not by force, but by wisdom. And in Marcus Aurelius, we see this truth fully formed, a warrior of thought, armed not with noise, but with knowledge, with restraint, and with the unshakable power of a trained mind. 7 is the power of inner retreat. Marcus Aurelius ruled the largest empire on earth. Yet he knew that no throne, no army, no amount of gold could offer true peace. That peace must be built within. He wrote that a man should have an inner fortress, one that no invasion can breach, one that no insult can reach. This inner retreat was not an escape from duty, it was a return to clarity. In the chaos of politics, betrayal, and war, he stepped back, not to withdraw, but to reset, to see clearly, to act deliberately. The world outside could be unpredictable, but his inner world remained under command. When others were lost in distraction or drowned by emotion, Marcus retreated to stillness, not for comfort, but for recalibration. He understood that every man is pulled by temptation, by fear, by anger, by pride. But the Stoic trains to break these chains, to hold the line within himself. He reminded us that true freedom is not doing whatever we want. It is not being controlled by what we want. This inner space, guarded by silence and shaped by reason, was his true stronghold. It gave him the strength to rule justly, the patience to endure suffering, and the clarity to stand firm when others fell. Because when a man commands his inner world, no outer force can shake him. 8 is the practice of memento mori, remembering death. Marcus Aurelius faced mortality not with fear, but with resolve. He reminded himself daily that he was a man, not a god, that every breath could be his last. That time is not promised, and life is not owned, it is borrowed. In his writings, he called death a natural return, not a punishment, but a process. He did not hide from it. He used it. He used the certainty of death to sharpen the urgency of life, to strip away pride, to silence petty concerns, to focus on what truly matters: honor, justice, truth, while others lived in denial, pretending they had forever. Marcus looked mortality in the eye and said, "I am ready." This was not morbid, it was empowering, because when you accept death, you stop fearing loss. You stop clinging to what does not serve you. You stop wasting energy on things that will not matter when the final hour comes. For Marcus, death was not an end. It was a teacher. It taught humility. It taught clarity. And above all, it taught discipline. To speak with purpose, to act with urgency, to live without apology. He knew that a man who walks with the awareness of death walks with power, because he no longer seeks permission to live fully. He commands each day with gratitude, with strength, and with an unbreakable calm. 9 is the restoration of strength through rest. Marcus Aurelius understood that discipline does not mean constant motion, it means controlled motion. Even the strongest warrior must recover. Even the clearest mind must be renewed. And so, he treated rest not as escape, but as preparation. He did not waste his nights in indulgence. He used them to restore his body, reset his focus, and anchor his mind in stillness. He knew that exhaustion weakens judgment, and that a tired soul is more vulnerable to temptation, to anger, to fear. So he prioritized sleep with the same seriousness as battle, not out of softness, but out of strategy, because the man who rests with purpose rises with power. Marcus saw sleep as a return to nature's rhythm, a reminder that he was not above the human condition, but bound by it, and in honoring that truth, he preserved his edge. He extended his endurance. He protected his ability to lead. For the Stoic, rest is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the pause between strikes, the silence before command, the breath before war. And when a man learns to rest without guilt, to sleep without shame, he builds a strength that does not burn out, but endures, calmly, patiently, and with absolute control. 10 is the discipline of humility and perspective. Marcus Aurelius held absolute power, yet he constantly reminded himself of how small he truly was in the vast order of nature. He wrote that a man should view himself from above as just one soul among millions, just one flicker in the passing of time. This was not self-pity, it was self-correction. It was a daily weapon against arrogance, against delusion, against the false belief that the world revolves around any one man. He studied the stars. He observed the cycles of life and death. He zoomed out, again and again, until his own problems shrank to their proper size. He knew that pride blinds the mind, that ego isolates, and that the man who forgets his place in the universe becomes a slave to illusion. So, Marcus practiced perspective not to feel small, but to act wisely. He understood that every insult, every setback, every loss becomes insignificant when seen from the viewpoint of eternity. And in that awareness, he found strength. He ruled not with the voice of superiority, but with the silence of understanding. He made decisions not to inflate his image, but to serve the greater good. Because the Stoic is not obsessed with being seen, he is committed to seeing clearly, and from that clarity, he moves with quiet confidence, guided by truth, untouched by flattery, and grounded in the simple, powerful knowledge that nothing lasts forever except the legacy of virtue. These were the daily disciplines of Marcus Aurelius, not grand gestures. But, qui est répétition. Not performances for the world, but practices for the soul. In every hour, he chose mastery over comfort, reason over reaction, virtue over vanity. And through that commitment, he became more than a ruler. He became an example, a reminder that power without self-control is destruction, that knowledge without action is empty, and that discipline, when anchored in silence and sharpened by truth, becomes a force that no enemy, no pain, no manipulation can ever break. You do not need an empire to follow this path. You only need a decision to rise early, to act with purpose, to reflect with courage, to lead yourself before you lead others. Every day is a chance to build that strength. Every moment, an invitation to choose stillness over noise, resilience over reaction, mastery over excuse. And if you walk that path with quiet resolve, as Marcus did, you will not need to announce your power. Your presence will say everything.